Lael woke up covered in sweat.
What the hell? What was this dream?
He went towards his closet to pick up a white shirt and dark blue trousers. He wondered why this new dream was so intense. Besides all of the previous images he had dreamed about, the dream took place in what looked like an operating room. He was lying on a mattress. The lack of decorations and furniture besides a table in the center and some sharp objects on it made him feel uneasy. He tried to move, but his hands and feet didn't cooperate, making him anxious. He looked to himself and saw that he was wearing a hospital garment, and his hands, waist, and feet were tied up with some shackles.
I've dreamed this part before, but not so detailed.
He thought as he tied his tie. In the dream, he couldn't really control himself. It was like he was trapped inside of himself. The Lael of the dream started to scream for help. A man with a blurred face appeared, murmuring so low that he couldn't understand. He was dressed like a doctor and was preparing a syringe. After that, the man injected a substance in his arm, and within seconds, he started to feel dizzy. The man appeared to be smiling and moved his face towards Lael's until there were only 6 inches separating both faces and whispered,
"You will forget everything, now."
Then he woke up. After he finished eating his breakfast, he put his black blazer on and looked himself in the mirror.
Shit. I look as bad as my dream self.
His blonde hair had decided to be sticky and the dark circles under his eyes were deeper than his wallet. Despite that, his blue eyes showed its usual liveliness.
Well, as long as my eyes keep looking forward, not backwards, it means I still have to live my dreams, and not my memories.
He said while he put a pointy posture trying to be taller than 5'7", and imagining himself in a big lecture, where he was applauded for his brilliant philosophic quotes. His dream fell apart when his phone started to ring.
Carver? What an honor. Good morning. Aiken here.
Need you to come in. ASAP.
Not a morning person, I see. Not a people person, I shall correct.
After that, he looked to his watch.
Oh, shit! I'm already 5 minutes late!
Driving like crazy helped Aiken save 5 more minutes. He was now only 15 minutes late.
Always thinking positive.
After parking his car, Lael Aiken walked towards the office, cursing himself for being late. He rarely was late, but when he was, he had the feeling that that day wasn't going to be his best. He spotted Julian Gore smoking a cigarette in the entrance. Julian didn't spot Lael, because he was busy looking deeply into something in the opposite direction.
I'm going to scare him. I'm late and childish anyway,
he thought with a grin on his face, as he hid behind a column that decorated the great department. Before taking any action, he saw a 5'2" guy that looked like a 15-year-old teenager accompanied by a 6-foot black guy wearing a suit.
He looks like Wesley Snipes.
A shiver went down his spine, just thinking how badass he was performing as Blade. The kid was wearing old jeans, sneakers, and a black shirt. His auburn hair caught his attention. Even though he was not so close to them, his ears were sharp as always, so he could hear almost everything they were saying.
Good morning. I was asked to be here because apparently you will need me.
His hands were in his pockets, and his posture mirrored his "I'm the boss here" attitude.
Oh yeah? And who do I have the pleasure to meet, punk?
He always had a sarcastic sense of humor when he was being confronted with a smarty pants.
I'm Ace Ruskin, and you shouldn't be talking to me like that if you want me to help you get intel from Edith.
The kid's voice transformed from cocky and arrogant to threatening. He could feel danger in his words.
What a brat.
Lael shook his head.
Wait, Edith?
He felt Julian's silence odd, like he was nervous.
You came.
It was all that Julian said before beginning an apology and asking him to come inside quickly.
Who's this kid named Ace? Who or what is an Edith? Is there a new case?
Detective Aiken left his hideout and went to the department, hoping to be clarified.
And you're late because?
Carver asked while crossing his arms. Lael could see him angrily chewing gum, sign that he should have a plausible explanation, or else he'd be angry with him all day, making him work harder. Unfortunately, Lael didn't have any good explanation, and didn't feel like giving any excuses.
I didn't sleep very well. It was a rough night. I'm deeply sorry.
It wasn't a lie, but sometimes we have to work on how to tell the truth too.
Rough night, huh? Did you work out in the bed, was it?
Even though he started to laugh perversely, his eyes showed comprehension. He knew Aiken wasn't the guy who'd usually lie.
I wish.
The other detective smiled shyly. When he was starting to ask about Gore, this one, followed by the cocky brat and the new Wesley Snipes, appeared in their office.
Good morning, Aiken. Meet our new colleague, Detective Ace Ruskin.
Julian announced with a serious countenance, which was something unusual for him. Perplexed, Lael muttered quickly.
Good morning. I'm Lael Aiken. Welcome to our team.
He reached his hand to greet the new detective. Ruskin smiled with malevolence and defiance mirrored inside his green eyes. The whole expression didn't match his youth and naive appearance.
Nice to meet you, Aiken. Can I call you Lael instead? I am Ace Ruskin, and I'm going to be your right hand whenever you need help.
He reached his hand to hold Aiken's in a cold handshake. Wesley Snipes' doppelganger introduced himself after it.
Good morning, detectives. I'm Lucas Grant, and I'm Mr. Ruskin's personal bodyguard.
Lucas offered a hand to the detective's shake.
What the hell? He even has a bodyguard?
He shook Lucas's hand. He looked like he was almost 40, but his tired face with some white hairs looked like he could be older.
May I ask how old you are?
Carver asked with the same face as always.
I don't think numbers can define people's real age. You see, I'm more of a, how experienced are you?
Well then, how experienced are you, may I ask?
Let's see.
Ace walked happily to the whiteboard that was cleared the day before after solving the Fae case. He took a black marker and started to write with a childish handwriting the vowels of the alphabet, vertically, starting with A at the top and finishing with U at the bottom. Carver was starting to tap his foot. Gore wasn't really happy either. Aiken, in spite of being annoyed by the brat, was the only one who seemed interested on his theory. Apart from Lucas, who was really amused, even though Ace looked like he was mocking them.
All right. A, as everyone knows, is the alphabet's first letter and the first vowel as well. So, we can consider a person with A experience when he or she doesn't reveal any experience at all. For example, babies and little kids are usually included here. Now you're probably thinking, hey, but babies and kids do experience stuff.
He rolled his eyes before continuing.
Yeah, but what I'm actually talking about is real-life experience.
A smirk was drawn on his face, but his eyes' flames never disappeared.
When kids manage to understand how survival works, how survival is important, then they should learn everything about it and about the ones who are hid, secretly listening to your conversations.
He looked directly to Lael Aiken and stopped smirking. Lael almost forgot to breathe normally.
God damn it, he caught me. Now I'm gonna be his dinner.
Lael tried not to laugh by that silly thought. Although he should confess he was feeling slightly intimidated. He straightened his back.
Then they move on to experience E, and so on.
Ruskin continued, with his face back to normal, drawing arrows between the vowels.
Most of you can easily achieve experience I, but there are some factors that still remain unknown to you and your understanding, so you'll probably never achieve experience O or U.
He looked at them all and cleaned the board.
Therefore, instead of every year we form a circle around the table reciting a somewhat creepy and repetitive ditty and blowing the fire out of candles, someone who recognizes your experience will carve you a small diagonal line upon your chest.
He nodded, proud of himself.
That said, and replying to Carver's answer, I am experienced in you.
He unbuttoned his shirt so that they could see 5 parallel diagonal scars on the left part of his chest.
I don't know if you're experienced in us, but good theory. Congrats.
A death stare was sent to him from Ruskin as he buttoned up his shirt.
You think this is a joke?
The way those words were uttered made Adam Carver lose the desire of laughing. Another shiver permeated Aiken's spine. Somehow he felt that this brat was crazy and funny, but at the same time his veracity, preferring that nonsense, was enough to make everyone join his insane world by believing it.
I wonder if there's a deep meaning of this experience. Why isn't this kid under investigation? Or at least being followed by a psychological hand?
Not at all. I understand.
Ace Ruskin's smile made him seem inoffensive and young again.
Brilliant! Are there any other questions you want to make?
Exchanged glances were made as the silence dominated the room. He looked to Aiken.
What about you, Aiken? I heard you were the new kid before me, so I guess you were the best one to teach me.
How did you... Never mind. Yeah, sure, and I'll be happy to help you around.
He then offered the best smile he could give in that moment.
I don't have any questions for you at the moment, but nice to meet you.
Actually, he wanted to know why he was going to be helpful to get intel from that Edath thing. Ruskin narrowed his eyes.
Alright, ask me later then. Nice to meet you too. It's already 9:30. If you don't mind, I'm going to have my lunch break now, okay? I'm starving.
He then quickly moved towards the exit with his shadow.